So now it's time to actually mount the reel seat to the rod blank. Now the rod blank obviously won't fit perfectly inside the reel seat, so we have to arbor up or build up the area around the rod blank so that the reel seat fits and is centered around that rod blank. Now, if you remember before, we made a mark in our road map, and that mark right here is where the top of the reel seat goes. Now you want your first arbor to be 1/8 to 1/4 inch from the top of the reel seat. So we're just going to mark the 3 arbor points real quick. Again, 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch below the top. So that's our first arbor point. And then we'll just mark one about 1/8 to 1/4 inch up from the top of the rear grip, and then one right in the middle. Now that's where the arbors are going to go. We still need to build up the arbor so that it fits snugly in the reel seat here. The way we do that is we put the rod blank on a hand wrapper by CRB, and you just take your masking tape and you just spin it around. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but try and line up so you have a nice straight edge. And you just keep applying tape until you think it's built up enough and it'll handle the inside diameter of the reel seat. And we're going to finish these up and we'll cut back in a second. Okay, so now we've finished with the arbors for our reel seat. 2 things we want to check real quick. One, we want to put the reel seat on and make sure the arbors fit one last time. Now the reel seat should go over the arbors, but when you try and move it around, it should have a snug fit, and this one does. And secondly, we want to check and make sure the foregrip fits as well. Remember, with cork, just like we did with the rear grip, you want to make sure you get enough cork out so that you can slide it in place. And although it's a little stiff, you don't want to, force it down and split the cork. So this is a good assembly. We're going to disassemble it one last time and then put the epoxy on. Now, one thing we would also recommend for the reel seat before you put the epoxy on is take some tape and just cover up the threads. Once you put the foregrip on, there's a chance that some glue or epoxy can get on the reel seat, which is fine, but it just makes for an easy cleanup later. And you actually want to make sure you keep a tag here on the tag end so it's easy to get off. Now, we'll take our Pro Paste that we used before, and you want to be generous with it. So, start with the first arbor and just kind of move it around. You kind of want to get in between the arbors and end up with a nice, nice level of epoxy in between the arbors. Get it on the tape itself. And again, if you need more, that's fine. There we go. Spin the rod around, make sure it's all over the tape and in between the arbors. And now we're going to take our reel seat and as you're going down, just like we did with the cork, you just want to give it a little spin to help it through and spread around the glue until you get down to the cork handle. Now also, if you remember from the beginning, when you spined the rod, here's our spine mark. This is a spinning rod, so you want to make sure that you line up your reel seat perfectly with the spine. Now you can take, to get rid of the extra glue, you can take some paper towel and some isopropyl alcohol and just start wiping that glue away. And it helps to have some paper towels ready, because once you get the bigger blobs of glue off, then you can go back. Again, just add some alcohol. And there you have it. Now you got most of that off. We still have the foregrip to do. Now again, we had a mark where the end of the foregrip is. So now we take some of our epoxy. And you don't need to use quite as much as you did with the reel seat, although you do want to apply liberally. And you just want to spread it around, move the rod blank around. Then we're going to take the foregrip. And then again, once you get close to the edge, you want to slow down and just start turning that foregrip. And you'll actually see the excess, a lot of the excess glue will go into the empty hood of the reel seat there. But you will get a little extra. And again, that's why we had that tape there. And you just peel that tape off. Again, get some alcohol with some paper towels. And all you got to do is roll it into the paper towel with the alcohol. And there you go. Time for last minute cleanups and a last minute inspection. Make sure you have all the glue off that you want. And this may take, a few minutes to really get right, but once you think everything's in alignment, you just have some last minute cleanups. Give one last check and make sure your reel seat is in line with your spine. Do some last minute cleanups and then set this aside to cure. And then you have a completed handle.